Welcome back to Another Triathlon Podcast brought to you by Mana Apparel. We're going to dive into everything going on, and we are so fired up after an epic weekend of racing in Oceanside, which is typically the season kickoff, but we've had a bit of racing going into it, so that made Oceanside even more interesting, I think. But first, we're going to catch up with the crew and see what's going on before we dive into all of the professional racing and results. So, joined this week by Josh. How's it going these days?
It was a little bit of a 50-50 weekend for me because I had that FOMO for not being in Oceanside for the first time after racing it for 3 straight years. And at the same time, I'm like, I'm glad I'm not racing. That course is just crazy hard, and you could see it got the best of some people this weekend. But crazy weather that they've had. It's been really warm this winter. Like the ocean temp was 70. When I've done it, it's like been like barely breaking out of the 50s. And the morning of the race is in the mid 40s out air temperature, and it was like low 50s, mid 50s. So it was like perfect conditions to start the day. And then obviously it got a little warmer as the day goes on, but it was really neat to watch the race from afar, and then watch the weather conditions as they got into the mountains. And you can totally tell there's a lot of climbing to be done when all of a sudden it gets foggy and it's sunny on one camera with the quad box. We'll talk about that.
We'll go into that for sure.
But it was a big weekend of training for me. I actually dropped the registration for 70.3, and I'm going to be joining the rest of Team Mana in Happy Valley. So Pro Series race in Pennsylvania in June, and snagged a spot there. And last night I spent 3 hours riding the course in Training Peaks Virtual. Holy crap. That race is really tough.
Got some
and yeah, it's and it's not even just that, like there's climbs, like Oceanside has climbs, right? And you're done in 5-10 minutes. These are long 4, 5, 6% climbs for like half hour. Yeah. If you're a light, good climber, yeah, Happy Valley might be the race that you can do really well at. But it's it'll be fun getting ready for it, and obviously swim, bike, and then the run course is a little bit rolly. I haven't really looked at it too much, but yeah, I'm going to be getting it's a really the reason why I'm adding it is to get some more outdoor riding in that environment as close to Nice as you can get around here. Like we'll never match Nice descents in this area of the world. At least where I am, and so at least be able to get some climbing, and it does have some pretty decent descents at 10-11%. So it'll be a good practice race. I'm now going to be racing that June 14th. I'll be doing a 10K on the 21st, and then my yearly sprint triathlon the weekend after. So I know I have 3 weeks in a row of racing and kind of really building towards that, and it just kind of filled out my season. So really excited about that. And yeah, it was a fun day on Saturday watching that race for sure.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fantastic. Well, sounds like you have some fun racing ahead, and that'll be great with the Mana crew. Yellow Geens will be out there, and a bunch of the team is going to get Yellow Geens special edition.
Look good in our kits.
So yeah, that'll be epic. Are they going to have the kits ready for that race? Do you know?
Yeah, so that's part of it is to do the race. I think there's going to be 13, 14, 15 of us in those kits, similar to what we did with AG1 last year at Oceanside. So hopefully they'll be ready in time, and we'll all get to race. But yeah, I should have my official registration link this week or next week. But yeah, I got my spot and ready to go. It's about a 6-hour drive, so it's going to be that'll make things a lot easier too. It's not fun driving that far, but yeah, I don't want to have to fly with my bike because with all the travel I got to do in Europe with my bike next year, I'm like, no, minimal travel with it this year. So yeah, we'll hop in the car and drive out there. And yeah, I haven't been there since the year before I went to college, because that was my number one choice, was actually to go to Penn State, and I ended up at Virginia Tech, but I haven't been back since. So it'll be neat to be out there. And it's a point-to-point race too, so that'll be my first point-to-point bike race. So there'll be 2 transitions. T1 and T2 are in different locations. T2's on campus, and then the run stays on campus. So that'll be really interesting. I guess if we're going east to west, so you get a windy day, and it could get pretty gnarly on the way across.
Epic or brutal. One of 2 ways in there.
Yeah. So it looks like it's gonna be fun. It was really neat. So in Training Peaks Virtual, you can now upload a GPX. So I found somebody who had done the course, downloaded it, uploaded it into Training Peaks, and then you create an event. So I created the event on like Friday. I was like, I knew I was gonna do the ride around Sunday at 5. And I was like really hustling to get down and started at 5. And I looked and there's 30 people ready to ride because I had opened it up to public. So there were 31 of us that rode it at 5 o'clock last night. So it was really neat.
That's pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
nice, just getting some sense of community.
Yeah. You get that. And I have no idea who the heck they were, but they were riding the course I created. So
That's awesome.
it's pretty neat. How about you? How's your week been?
Pretty good over here. It is snowing again. So I am definitely starting to get over that. I can't remember if I mentioned it last week, but my treadmill broke. So that has definitely been causing some issues for me because I much prefer if I'm going to have to suffer on a treadmill to do it in the privacy of my own pain cave and blast some music and stuff. So yeah, I had a long brick workout on Saturday where it was like overdressed ride, like literally in my basement in a hoodie. And I was supposed to do like a 3-mile brick run after it. I'm like, I can't convince myself to go from like overdressed to sweating like crazy into like bundling up all the layers and go run outside in -8. So the brick run did not happen. It's that or drive 20 minutes to the gym and
The
then get
gym.
it. At
And
that point, I was like, no, it's just not worth the time in it. So that was unfortunate. So I need to, work on figuring out if the treadmill is fixable. I've only had that thing since September, and this is like treadmill number 4 I've killed. So hopefully it's something fixable because it is
I
such
got to
a
make them different in Calgary. That's what
oh,
there's just something. I mean, you sweat
not
so
very
much and it's crazy. There's
oh,
another person in Calgary that I've been following recently. She's getting ready for her first pro race at Boston.
awesome.
Mummy to sub 3. So she's got 2 kids who are big hockey players out there. So she's like balancing that and
Female life
she's
is no joke.
yeah, and doing and I've seen like maybe 3 or 4 of her runs have been outside. But then when she goes outside, it's like completely icicle. And I'm like, no, just go back inside on your treadmill. Like, come on.
The weather is not for the weak here, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm hoping to get it fixed because like getting a treadmill in and down into the basement, because I usually get the heavier duty ones because I kill them. It's such a pain. So fingers crossed. But that meant I got to look like an insane person at the gym on Sunday. I had a long run. And same deal, like layered up in there and lots of hill intervals. So really just working on the strength aspects of my run. So some like 8 to 10% grades with like a short sleeve on, a long sleeve on top of it, and a windbreaker on top of that just to get the sweat going. I looked slightly insane at the gym. Definitely got some funny looks there, but treadmill faces the window, just ignoring everyone around me, and I have a pile of sweat at the end. So that was entertaining, at least.
Yeah. Made for some good viewing for the rest of the people in the gym.
Oh my goodness, I bet there was some what the what's going on in
You're
there?
on somebody's social media somewhere.
Oh, totally. But no, that is good. Kind of, so I'm making a shift on my race plans for this year, so kind of changing things around. And the plan was to do Ironman Chattanooga this year, but last year after doing 2 Ironmans, got some things going on here. I decided I'm going to go focus on 70.3 this year with Ironman Calgary 70.3 and then 70.3 Worlds. And then I'm also going to try to qualify again for the duathlon world championships
Nice.
because they'll be held in Edmonton, just 3 hours north of here next year. And it's just fun representing the Team Canada kit.
Yeah.
And then next year I'll spend another year not swimming and just do a whole lot of bike and run, which is always fun. Work on some speed. I'm good at the endurance stuff. I need to get out of that comfort zone and work on some speed. It definitely pays off long term.
Absolutely. That's why I'm kind of looking forward to throwing the 70.3 puts a little crink in the plan, but having the 10K and the sprint triathlon after it will like really give me an idea of where I'm at and be a good little checkpoint before going into that 70.3 Nice build and Berlin Marathon. So yeah.
Just a few races on the so you're going the opposite way from me. I'm doing like barely racing. You're like race, different type of race. Marathon 70.3 sprint 10K.
No, but because I've been swimming so much too, I'm put myself in a little bit of a quandary here where I've got to like all of a sudden my coach is like, yeah, you're hitting some numbers. So I have a 500 TT to do today to get my new CSS.
Oh,
And she's already got an idea of what she thinks that should be. And I'm like, I had 4x200s with 8x25s like built into them. So 4x200 with into an 8x25. And my 200s were all like faster than my hundreds and 50s used to be. It was like,
nice.
but then it's like, oh man, if I don't pull that off in a race day environment, nice and fresh and tapered, so you stop putting pressure on yourself, right? Because you're like, I know I can do this in the pool, and I know I can do this and then you put a wetsuit on if you get the conditions there, and but it feels good to feel how to swim again. So I am looking forward to it, but at the same time, it's like, oh man, now that there's a split, I need to hit on that as well, and you put the pressure on yourself. But hey, it's all fun and games.
Yeah, that's so tough. Actually, I just had a call with an athlete I coach this morning talking about that, just that internal pressure that we put on ourselves. Because the reality is, other than you and your coach, no one really gives a shit about the times you're putting in or what you do. Like they really don't, right? But because you're invested in this process and you care about it, you start to feel like every time you test or every race you do, it has to be better or else it's failing. And that's definitely not true. There are ups and downs in the sport for sure, but just finding ways to deal with that mental pressure and anxiety can really make a big difference. Do you have anything that you do before like a test like this where you have your own expectations going in that you do to try to take the nerves away or at least manage them so that they don't become
Yeah. I think what you just said too is remembering this is literally about me getting better and going back and thinking of the journey and where I came from. Like thinking about what I looked like in my first triathlon, thinking about what I looked like in the water for
seriously? Yeah.
that first Oceanside only 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Just remembering where I've come from and be like, hey, look, just go give it a good effort and treat it with that importance too. So like prepare, hydrate, fuel, like get all that stuff done that day and set myself up for success. And I felt like this weekend with some tight windows in my schedule with some longer blocks, I was able to do that and still pull off some good sessions because I fueled and rested and recovered in between when I could and prioritize sleep. And I feel like I'm in a good spot today to do that this evening and we'll see. And if I don't, I don't. But I know it's not going to be far off and I'm still way ahead. And again, it's a stepping stone. So for me, it's just big picture where you've come from and remember that and just do it for the joy and like the fact that I get to do this and even do it is that's the thing to me that I continue to go back on and I feel like it'll relax me before I get in. And then once you get in the water, it's like, okay,
Do you
man,
actually
I got here, I'm here, so let's go. And I mean, there's so many sets where it's like that first set, you're like, there's no way, there's no way. And
Oh
I
yeah.
usually have a pretty decent warm up, but my warm ups are now up to like 1,000 before I even get into the main set, for the most part. So that usually helps relax me, and you start to get a good feel for the water and start to really feel like you're warmed up. So yeah, my big thing is just remember where you've come from and your why. I mean, I know they're pretty cliche, but it does help.
For sure, absolutely. And that's the biggest thing that's kept me in the sport this long is just appreciating what your body is capable of.
Yeah.
Because if you think about that starting point, it's absolutely insane the things we do right now. Like, and it's just pretty cool that you're mentally, physically able to get there and do something that most people think is absolutely insane, which makes it a
Yeah.
little bit more fun.
Insane. Just don't look at other times in your age group some weekends
Yes.
because
That was something else I brought up with them, like, don't start looking at the competition ahead of time because that is just gonna totally screw with your head. You can talk yourself out of a good result so
yeah.
easily. Be like, "I wanna get that podium," and then you see there's a few, like, 5 people that have had faster times than you, like, that can completely screw with your head and just make it so the anxiety, the nerves, almost like you're anticipating that failure, so you make it happen, right?
Yeah. And you don't know what day they're going to have and who's going to show up that day. Like I can look and see who went to Happy Valley and what were the times and stuff like that, but that has no bearings on who's going to be there this year. And it's like so all those things. But it was like It's crazy how fast people are getting. I think I shared with you and Fed, like
Yeah,
60 to 64-year-old, and he was like a 440 something at
in
Oceanside. It's like,
Oceanside.
you got to be kidding me. Was that his swim bike? Like, did he have to run?
Absolutely insane between the technology and what we know about
Yeah.
nutrition these days. It's crazy to see. And another thing that was brought up actually, I wasn't planning on touching on this, but did you see there's a lot of buzz going around in the triathlon world with this release of the TUE
Yeah.
exemptions that are going around, the ones that have been granted within Ironman Triathlon and the WTCS. Now, this is a list that we don't know whether it's professional athletes, amateur athletes, but there did seem to be a fair bit of exemptions on things that you wouldn't think there would be exemptions for, like human growth
Human
hormone.
growth hormone.
Yeah, that's the one that's hard to find a legit reason.
When there's females who are getting denied for fertility drugs, and
Yeah. Who
so
was it
it's
that
really
got
hard to
I can't
understand.
remember. It was
Jocelyn McCauley definitely talked about
yeah.
it. That she was denied and had debated whether or not to even to apply for it, and I'm
Mhm,
sure there's others that have too, but she was denied the treatment that her doctor had suggested she use to help get pregnant.
mhm. Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of debate these days whether TUE should be public or not. Um, Personally, I think if you're a professional athlete, that is something that should be public. You sign away a lot of stuff when you become a professional athlete. No one has the right to do sport as a professional. You make that decision whether you want to or not. It's just like a famous or a person becoming a famous actor kind of thing. You give up rights to some privacies and some protections there to do what you want to do or love to do. And I don't know, it just seems like something like that should be public if you are signing up to be a professional athlete because there are serious implications. And I think for the most part, the sport is clean, just there's not the resources, the money, or the mindset that you have to dope to win. I don't think our sport is prevalent with that. But at the same time, we're starting to see people are definitely operating in the gray areas where they
Yeah,
can.
and I agree with you. I think there's a large portion of the triathlon world that really wants to take the sport to the next level and how it's treated. And in order for it to be treated professionally by the outside professional sports world, we have to treat it the same way inside too. And the pressures have to come from the pros like Sam Laidlow stepping up and saying, I want it to be public. And he's now stepped up and done a couple things and been a leader with the release the draft
Yeah,
results from Race Ranger
for it.
and good for him, because if we go back a few years ago, he was the one everyone was pointing a finger at coming out of Nice. So um, I think it is important for us to have an idea on the pro side. It brings up a whole nother issue on the age group side, and
Yeah.
some of the things you're seeing and times that you're seeing and who the heck knows. I just don't. I believe there's a way that there needs to be testing done in the age group world for podiums and world championship slots or something like that. But I mean, podiums. Let's start there, right? It's nice and easy. You know exactly who it is. World championship slots. Apparently in Oceanside, it went down to like 260 in before the final men's slot, and like the women's was like 150, something like that. So they dropped really far. But podiums, like let's
Mhm.
start there. And to me, that's an easy way to at least make an advancement. But in the professional world, I think that information should be public. I mean, there's not that many of them compared to some other sports either. So let's show how serious we are. This sport is definitely performance enhancing if somebody's being able to get access to those things.
Yeah. The only place where it does get tricky is I did give kudos to Jocelyn for talking out there because in the case of a drug that is used for fertility, that can have some serious implications on an athlete's income. So say you have a female athlete who is on fertility drugs, that signals to her sponsors and supporters that she might be out of the sport for a while, which could potentially have implications with contract negotiations or
Yeah.
support moving forward. So there, I can definitely see how it's tricky, but honestly, overall, I think for a fair sport, you have to look at the 90% kind of thing.
Well, that's the thing. What is it worth it to have it public and I'm not minimizing with the struggles that some females have of getting pregnant and what they need, but the numbers of percentages of who are getting denied for that drug is nowhere near what it is, what people are applying for and why they're applying for
Yeah.
it, like shoulder injuries and
Yeah. Yeah.
rehabbing and
So that it's like, well, that's kind of part of the pro sport, right? Like staying healthy and being able to do what you need to do for the training is what makes you successful as an athlete or not. How much of that can we, yeah, apply for some of those to you so that you can get back to sport faster? And
yeah.
the other conversation that's brought back was a lot of debate. Well, I need to take testosterone or these drugs or whatever to just get me back to normal baseline. And I think that kind of falls into the same argument, right? Like to be a professional athlete, you are saying I'm
Yep.
genetically like better than the rest kind of thing. Like and putting in the time and training, right? You're not automatically like owed to be a professional in
No.
sport. And this sport has implications on your hormones. And if you don't train properly, recover properly, it can bring your numbers down below baseline. But
Yep.
that's kind of just part of being the professional athlete.
And the elite athletes are the ones who are able to recover naturally and get back
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
those levels.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so it's definitely I'm sure it's a discussion we're gonna hear a lot more about because it has come to the forefront once again. And I heard where was it? I might have been the triathlon hour, but did you hear Colin Chartier? Did you hear what happened with him with his
Yeah, because he went on his little bike rampage. Nobody knew where he was. He didn't check in, so now he's done for another few years.
Yeah, so technically he was supposed to be up with his band this week, but he went on a bike tour and didn't update his status with whereabouts. So when you are in a doping suspension, they keep testing you to make sure that you're not doping during the suspension, which is good to know that you're not just taking those tears out to dope to the gills. But yeah, he didn't update his whereabouts for a bike packing trip that he did. And so now he's suspended for another like 3 years or something for failing to adhere to that. Not that I don't think he was gonna come back. He was fairly vocal about that, but it's just kind of funny to
But
see.
even to be able to do like road races and marathons and things like that, I
Yes,
think
gotta
that was where
there.
he maybe thought he might get back at it, and he can't even do that. And a lot of that came up because we are going to deal with a comeback in that world very shortly here, and he's been very
Yeah,
out and
Thomas.
about on his social media with Tomas Rodriguez. So nobody wants to see him back, and
Yeah, that's
we're
gonna
gonna
be
have to deal with it soon.
yeah, curious to see how that goes. Like, and he just seems to be, I don't know, so
I think everyone figured out how to do it. There's just going to be the Ari Clow. The Ari Clow hand gesture is going to be all over the
oh
Ironman
my
finish
goodness,
line.
yes. Who was it? Pro China's that posted that where Ari gave a double finger salute to.
To Sam Appo because of the whole triathlon hour thing. And yeah, I'm sure it's been
Oh
discussed.
goodness,
I haven't had a chance to listen to any of the other recap shows
either.
yet. But it's definitely out there. And Ari finished Blistergate and got to the finish line and had a hell of a run.
There you go. He had a smoking run.
Yeah, 107.50. I think he was maybe second fastest run of the day behind Christian.
Yeah, that's insane. Well, we've gone on some tangents already, but let's jump into race week Oceanside. Sometimes I wonder if we're going to have enough to talk about, but it's
Mm-mm.
never short on conversations. Yeah, let's jump into Oceanside results. How about we start with the women's side of things? 'Cause I think that's a little bit easier to run through and no surprise with the results there.
No, no surprise there. I think the one of the bigger surprises was Paula Finley not feeling well
I
and
know.
coming out way down in the swim, and it sounded like she didn't even think she was going to start because she wasn't feeling well, and then she was 3 or 4 minutes back out of the water, which is like, all right, yeah, something's up. Even when she has a bad swim, that means it's like a minute and a half, 2 minutes typically, especially in a 70.3. So that was interesting. And right there, it's like, well, Taylor Knibb's gone. Like I mean, there's a few people that can maybe bike with her on that course, especially, and it's Paula, and she's not in there. Paula's not there to help pull, like we talked about this last week. She wasn't there to help Solvi bridge up
Yeah.
to Taylor either. So I think that actually impacted Solvi's race at the end of the day, even though she had a heck of a full
Yeah.
day and race in 70.3, which now rounds out Solvi Lasik. I mean, right? Because now we've got Ironman world champ and pulling in again for the second time in a major race, pulling in Taylor Knibb on the run course. And unlike Kona, Taylor held on, but Taylor Knibb out of the water early, took her time with her socks again, as she loves to
Always, yeah.
do. And it wasn't long before she was gone and into the dust, into the mist of the Oceanside and into Camp Pendleton, and really just riding her own race, chatting with the cameras at certain points, and just off in an unbelievable TT position and flawless bike ride. 2:15:27 to shatter the course record. Now,
Sure,
here's a caveat, because this was something I thought the broadcast itself was amazing in terms of where we've come from and where we are now in terms of Ironman. Quad box, Cinco box, we had it all. We had on the ground coverage, we had drones, it was really well done for the most part. But the one thing they kept alluding to were these course records. And I don't
but
think it was until at the very end of the day, Rinny finally chimed in. It might have been on that Cinco box where she chimed in and was like, yeah, they just removed the speed zone.
yeah,
So
exactly.
that alone, now, yes, it's a short quarter mile, half mile zone, but you don't have to slow down and you don't have to pick speed back up. And that makes a huge difference in that rolling resistance and everything that you're dealing with there. They rerouted the street. And so bike course records were bound to go down because of that. Now, they took it to the next level with some of the times that
For sure.
they beat. But that is definitely, I wouldn't say an asterisk on the course record, but it needs to be mentioned,
Yeah.
especially with, I think it was the top 10 guys tied or above beat Jackson Laundry's record from a few years ago. So when you get 10 people beating the course record, there's going to be a little bit of a factor in that speed zone in there. So with that said, Taylor Knibb still threw down a 2:15:27, shattering her and Daniela Reef's record of 2:18, I think it was previously. So yeah, that wasn't a speed zone induced, but it was certainly helped. And she went out fast on the run, but she was having fun. She got into T2. This was kind of cool. She got into T2, and Rennie's there interviewing, or not interviewing, but like talking about everyone coming through transition. And with the guys, it was, we'll get into it, but with the ladies, it was Taylor Knibb was 6, 7, 8 minutes ahead. So it was just her, and Taylor's like chatting and laughing with Rennie as she's getting ready to go out, and she's already got her socks on, and she was off.
Feeling good. Yeah.
Yeah. And she had a heck of a first lap, but she started to feel the implications of that bike ride on her second lap of the run, and Solveig started to bring her in, and Audrey Merle, which
Yeah.
not I think this was only her second at the distance, second effort at this distance, and had a heck of a day, and finished with a really strong run to hold off Grace Deck and Jackie Herring and get on the podium in such a huge race. But there was a major drop from Solveig down. I mean, we're looking at 7 minutes from second to third, and from Taylor to third, we're looking at 9 minutes. So in terms of the Pro Series points, you're a Jackie Herring, and you're like, this is, I remember being in Oceanside and seeing the pros like chat, like, well, Taylor's here, so like we're not really going after Pro Series points. This is going to be one that we have to drop eventually, and hopefully outdo in the 70.3 world. And sure enough, I mean, Taylor, like Jackie Herring, fifth place with 1,657 points in fifth place. I mean,
Yeah. It's crazy.
almost 900 points dropped, which is nuts. So that is the story of the weekend. We had some pretty good performances. Danielle Lewis moved up into ninth. Kirsten Casper seventh. Seems like she had a kind of a rough day on the bike. Her and Jackie Herring ran together for a while, but overall, exactly what we expected. Taylor Knibb, Solveig Lasseth, and the only one we didn't really get to see have a day was Paula.
Yeah, and you know what? I may have underestimated Taylor a little bit. I thought maybe like the travel would throw her off with the short time frame, 'cause she likes things very controlled in there. But no, she did Taylor things. This bike course is absolutely made for her. Rolling, not too technical. She can just put down power and ride away from everyone in that position. So it was fun to see Taylor do Taylor things and just be happy and chatting along the way. Like a happy Taylor nib is terrifying.
Yeah.
If she's happy and bubbly during a race, then nobody's got any shot whatsoever. And it's just fun to watch.
Yeah. And it's her and Christian. And obviously there were a few others that made that like transcontinental or global trip from Australia over to Oceanside. Their complaints are hilarious. Their complaints were that they've now gone a couple weeks without training the way they would like to train.
It's crazy. But the other standout I wanted to point out was Salve Lovesef's run time of 1:14. Like, that is absolutely insane. What was that? 15, like 2.5 minutes faster than Taylor, who was, well, to be fair, she wasn't being pushed on the run for Taylor, but
yeah, she was running like 5:35, something like that per mile. And there was all the running joke going into it was that she looked like Phoebe from Friends running.
You look at that. I'm like, there's no.
She's got a little awkward of a right leg kick, but that's like that girl looked as technically perfect as.
It's just ridiculous.
That's not an easy course to run fast on. As flat as it may be, it is punchy, and everyone kept talking about this. It sneaks up onto you after that third or fourth time going up the ramps from the ocean level to the street level or back down them. It's not easy to do. And she just made that run look super easy.
Insane. Well, it was definitely a fun race to watch there. And it's funny how Oceanside is usually the kickoff, but we've got a few races in the books at this time. And I think it made it feel just at least on the women's side, like it just didn't feel like it was as stacked or loaded as we usually see Oceanside. And that's where you see those big deficits, like the 9 minutes from first to third kind of thing. So, but on the bright side, there's going to be lots of racing ahead here, and people are definitely getting those points. Let's jump into the men's side of things. Again, can't count out the winner from last weekend. Jeez. Tell us how that went.
It's going to be interesting to see how many people try and go the back-to-back route after what we've seen this season, especially with Christian Blumenfeld now 3 Pro Series races. I think the Pro Series contenders are lucky he did not show up in New Zealand. Otherwise, this series would already be over. So we had pretty, as expected, swim minus a few outliers. But Mark Dubrick led out the swim with Jonas Stromberg in like 22 and a half. And then there was a huge pack behind them, including Christian Blumenfeld, Casper Storns, Jason West got in that group. Ben Canute was there. All your players were there, and it must have been a group of like 15, 20, almost all the way back. And then next thing you know, Sam Long's coming out, and he's only 2 minutes back. But you didn't hear much about him after that. And the first thing that we heard from the men, really, you could see that Jonas Schomburg was gone, which I think we all kind of predicted that would be the case. If everything happened in a perfect world, Jonas was going to go, and he did, and he got off and got out in front. And that made it difficult to catch, too, because you now have a group of 15, 16, 17 guys running 20 meters apart. And in order for anyone to make a move and bridge that gap, you've got to be within those first 5, 6 guys, you would think, right? Until you get onto the base and into that first climb. And I mean, as an age grouper, it's kind of refreshing to watch them do that climb on television, because you could see how much of a struggle it actually is for them too. As easy as it is, though, in their world, and how fast they're going is insane. But to actually look and see them grinding makes you feel a little better. But that going into that climb, we had lost we had lost Justin Reale. And we had heard that he had crashed, and Justin was one of those favorites he had just set the bike course record last year. So now you take away the time zone, and you're figuring he's going to be a player. He's a professional, not working for the first time, and
isn't it his first race that he retired from his work to focus on being a professional.
First week, like literally, maybe, yeah. I think it was the end of his first week off of work. So he and fresh kit and looking good, beautiful bike setup and ready to go. He was part of the whole road to Oceanside with Jackson and Ari Clow. And most people picked him to finish third of those three. And well, they ended up being right. But unfortunately, Justin's now done for a good portion of the year. It looks like he was hoping to qualify for Kona at Texas. Now that's off. And now he's got to look at maybe Lake Placid, but broken collarbone, clavicle, so pretty banged up. Already had surgery and is already back home. So hopefully he'll heal up and get back out there. But it would have been nice to see where he would have played in, because the way the bike shook out, the group stayed together for the most part. And all of a sudden, the next thing we know, Jonas has company, and it's Sam Long, and we're like,
you're like, wait, what?
Where did he even come from? Like, we barely knew he came out 2 minutes down. And then, so when there's a piece of the broadcast that maybe could be tied up, like, keep an eye on Sam Long and let us know how he's going through the pack.
Like, he's likely to move through the pack there. And especially with that little of a swim deficit, which is good for him, he's going to be a factor at some point.
But apparently Ironman wasn't the only one that missed him coming through the pack. Christian Blumenfeld didn't know he was up front. Like, he kept getting splits, and he was saying, like, I thought it was Sam Appo.
Oh.
So he's like, Appo's in front of me on the bike. I don't have to worry about Appo as much on the run. But with Sam Long in front of him, he started getting nervous. So by the time he finally figured out it was Sam Long, that's why we saw KB out of T2, that we saw KB out of T2.
Like, just Terminator again.
I mean, they had, and Sam Long bike course record again, 20204, absolutely blitzed it. And unfortunately, it came back to bite him. As a lot of the swim bikers, the bike catcher uppers happen to have. And he went for it. Kudos to him. He knew he had to get out in front. And he and Jonas knew that they had to get a gap on Christian and Casper and the rest of the runners, and even Ari Clow and Ben Knud and Jonas Hoffman. I mean, all these guys that finished behind them, they needed every bit of that gap that they got. And as we saw, it wasn't enough to Christian Blumenfeld, who just, I mean, as we saw in Geelong, like, the dude was just on a mission, and it was like, okay, they've got a good enough lead, and they're both good runners. Sam Long's going to take Jonas down too. Like, this shouldn't be a problem. And he even fist bumped him like he was going to run away with him. And Jonas is like, what are you talking about? Where are you going? I'm not going anywhere. And sure enough, Jonas Schoenberg took the lead. And so the question became, would Christian catch him? He was going to catch Sam Long. And that was towards the end of the second loop. You do it out and back, and he caught Sam right before that. And how long would it take him to catch Jonas on the few miles back to the pier? And sure enough, passed him with no problem. And it just became, how much weaving does he do for his finish time? And yet again, it cost him. He went from a 106 something to a 107 flat. Another epic course. He broke his own course record. So remember, last year he had his mechanical, and just kind of soft spun the bike and had that blistering 107.19. Well, this year he broke his own course record on a day where he had to go the whole race and finish with a 107. And we all know that was a 106 high. So that's absolutely epic, coming off the fact that he's now raced 3 times an Ironman and 2 70.3s, all in the Pro Series, all major points, and has his buddies with him. Casper did not catch Jonas, but Jonas held on to second. So a huge day for Jonas Schoenberg. Casper Storns caught Sam Long with about 400 meters to go, and you could tell Sam Long was pissed. Now, Crowe thought he was happy and celebrating, but it was quite obvious Sam Long was pissed. And then a few F-bombs came out in his interview with Bob Babbitt, and he gave it all. And he's close. And there was a thing I saw this morning about Sam Long and his trajectory and his swim gaps and how it's slowly coming down, and he'll have a blip and then it'll come. So he's still trajecting and doing well. So we talked about this, and I took a shot at Sam for the win. And I felt the 20 meters would be a factor. And sure enough, like if he gets off in a way, that was the difference. Now, I
Mhm.
don't think everyone knew he was up front, and that might have changed things. But with 15 guys in a 20 meter, it gets impossible unless you're one of those front guys to go chase down and bridge that gap. And the guys who get off front are going to be able to get away if they can hold off on the run for that particular day.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that definitely had an effect, that 20-meter in there. And it just feels like everyone races their own race a little bit more. If you're not going to get that draft benefit, then you can hang out or hang back a little bit and kind of ride your own pace and not be thinking in your head the entire time. You're losing that whatever percent it is kind of power difference, right? It's going to force everyone to do their own things. And then we see some more blowups on the run, and that makes it more entertaining too. But man, I feel for Sam Long. He just, yeah, he was not happy at the end, but absolutely smashed that bike, which we love to see. That's Sam Long doing Sam Long things. It just, that's got to be so brutal though. 400 meters, like right by the end, you get past. We're so close from
The
a podium.
podium, and he
No,
had nothing.
oh,
Casper legit went
zero
into it. Casper's like, wait, we did this sprint with Christian a couple days ago.
Here we go again.
And sure enough,
Oh,
Sam had no response, and I think we all knew that was going to be the case. After, like, he had no response for Jonas, he had no response for Christian when he came by, and there was nothing left by the time Casper got there.
yeah.
One of the other things I did want to mention, because there were two pretty significant penalties on the bike that came into play, at least in terms of the top 10. Now you're talking, okay, top 8 get paid out.
Mhm.
Um, I noticed this morning. Henry Rappo and Antonio Benito Lopez. I think they mentioned Antonio Benito on the broadcast that he was in the penalty tent. But Henry Rappo, not many people know about. The dude he finished 13th and had a 2-minute penalty on the bridge before coming into T2 and was only a minute or so down from the top 10. So that's a
Yeah.
huge
That makes
implication right there, right? And then you stop and catch, and it just takes the wind out of your sails. And now, literally, that group coming into T2 was from 3rd to 12th, is the way you look at it. So there was a whole bunch of them going out, and Cam Wharf trying to hang with Christian Blumenfeld looked pretty funny for a bit.
Oh, Cam.
And Gustav, as we knew, was probably a little banged up and niggled and didn't have true run form, but he was right there on the bike. And that's scary if he can get his ankle back in shape. And Casper with his Achilles injury, what Achilles injury?
Yeah,
Like
right. No, he took it
like
right back.
Texas could be another Norwegian podium.
Yeah, and it was great to see. Cam had a great swim too. Like he was right up
Yeah.
there in the mix from the start, and that's always fun to see.
Yeah.
Um, him like actually being a part of the race there. So that was cool. But yeah, let's talk about the broadcast. Like you said, we got the quad box, the Cinco box at times and stuff, and I like the combination of like in studio people talking and then having people eyes on the ground as well. I think that makes a big difference, and just instead of two people talking in a studio wherever in the world, just having more thoughts and opinions and insights and different perspectives, it really makes a massive difference. And getting to see a little bit more of the race than just the person in
And
front.
the way it was done too, it wasn't just let's throw a quad box to have a quad box.
Yeah.
It was 2 males, 2 females, and we had splits on the bike and the run, and they're getting better. I still think there's a way, at least on the bike, that we can get more up to date stuff. Like, you're
Mhm.
clearly looking at a guy in 3rd place, and they're saying he's in 10th, and
Yeah.
there's certain things there. And I know on the swim we're getting closer to the buoy markers, and I don't think they actually played in on the swim in Oceanside, even though they had the technology on the caps. But the broadcast itself was really well done. I thought, as a fan, if I was watching that, like, that's wow, this is really cool. And that's the type of stuff, like, I wish more people could watch that excitement and see that race. Like, if you're a sports fan in general and you see 13 dudes getting off a bike together running at that pace, like, that's
Yeah.
captivating television no matter what. So in order to do that, you've got to have that type of technology and that type of coverage and the up-to-date information. And on the run course, that's just a no-brainer, especially with the 2.5 laps of Oceanside. It gets so easy to get the splits and in
Get the
real time with
changes.
the drones and everything too. So really well done. I thought the way they captured the information, portrayed the information, the broadcast crew that they had did a really good job. And Renee on the ground was fabulous.
Yeah, definitely. And it goes to show again, Ironman just seems to be listening. Like even when I talked to Scott Drew at the end of last year, they're kind of like, no, like people like our broadcasts and stuff. And they obviously got some information to the contrary that people, wanted more from the commentators, wanted some more on the broadcast. And they've definitely made a change. And I think it definitely made it a lot more palatable watching. Because if the triathlon geeks are like, oh, this is brutal to watch, then nobody else is ever going to watch it. So this was definitely a step forward, getting more information, more pictures, more commentators, more perspectives, and hopefully we'll see some more of that. I'd love to see. I didn't watch the end as closely as I need to, but they need to. It'd be fun to have like a live points counter more often on the pro series. Like
Yeah.
once we start, like here's the standings right now. If they finish on course, like they do at the Tour de France, if they finish
And
on,
I know it's been there in the past.
Mhm.
I don't know if it happened at Oceanside because I had to get to my swim. But I know in the
They
past that
have
it
done, yeah,
has been there. The other thing I do want, like in terms of the broadcast, I think it all layers into what people like other podcasters are doing, and our coverage of it is really trying to get this out more to the mainstream and more to the people who are just novice and beginners of the sport, but really why do they want to watch the sport, and how do they, and we all learn from watching pros and being inspired by that,
for
and
sure.
people like Justin Reale, who went from an age grouper, or Josh Monda, who's 40 something years old racing as a pro, and for me that's kind of cool to look at. But the coverage of it by people like Kyle and Talbot and others who are there on the ground and now creating this fantasy world. Well, okay,
Yeah,
everybody loves fantasy
let's talk
sports.
about that.
Well, in order for the fantasy sports world to actually come into this sport, the broadcast of the event that they're gambling on, for $1,000 at the end of the day, is gonna matter, and I think that's a big piece. Like, so kudos to Pro Tri News and Talbot and Kyle for everything that they've done to create that and get that back up and running. And it's really easy to use, and all the results and everything they have on that page is going to drive Ironman and T100 and Super Tri and others to do better at producing a product that resonates with the people who are going to be using that type of a site. And just the coverage in general on the ground. Anya Left was there, and Travis was there from Daily Tri. So I think it was just a really good weekend, as we know with Oceanside. But it's hard when that level isn't there all the time, and that's where like we just have to bridge that gap so there aren't as many dips, and in the pro series races at least.
Yeah, definitely. And if you guys are listening and haven't really seen or don't know what we're talking about there, Pro Tri News has started up their own website. I think it's protrinews.com. Let's see here. Protrinews.com.
ProTriNews.com, yeah.
So they're doing the fantasy podium picks like we've seen a couple iterations of in the past, and they've kind of taken that on, kind of consolidating a bunch of the historical results from pro athletes. And then you can also do your podium picks like we've seen, and then your assigned points. So you choose your top 5, and then you choose who you think will be the fastest swimmer, biker, and runner for both the men's and women's race. And then you get points allocated based on how you do, or how those professionals do, based against your rankings. So kind of fun to have a little bit more buy-in to a race when you're kind of cheering for a specific outcome there, and then see how you do against the rest of the triathlon world. So definitely go check that out. It looks like they put a ton of work into it, and it's just cool to see that kind of investment in the sport and making it something that people are just more excited about too. So kudos to them for sure.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing with the race before we go on to other topics, did anyone even know Leon Chevalier was racing? Like, I don't think we talked about him much, and I think he was M8, and like we all know his pedigree and where he's from, 52nd place. Like, what happened to Leon? And I think he had some health issues and stuff leading up to the race, but thought he would be fit enough to do. But I mean, when was the last time Leon Chevalier finished 52nd in a race? So kind of crazy there. And then I did want to give a shout out to my buddy who I met a few years ago, and you've got a chance to chat with a bunch, Luke Tasker, in his first race as a
Yeah.
pro. M71. I think he was dead last in terms of the pro rankings for this race, and he finished 23rd. So you want to talk about outdoing your number, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In his super fast Mana kit. So
Yeah. No,
kudos to
always
Luke
fun to see
having
a
a day.
Canadian making it up the ranks too. Luke is awesome, so it's really cool to see him stepping into that pro field and getting some good results to start. And I'm sure those will go higher and higher.
Yeah, we'll see how he does at Texas.
Yeah, so that's going to be the next big Pro Series race coming up here is Ironman Texas. When is that? It's the middle of next month.
3 weeks. So, well, under 3 weeks now. So if you want to gonna go see some triathlon celebrities, just go to the Woodlands in the next few weeks and they'll be riding around.
I know. I need to poke at Ironman. I just submitted my media credentials submission, so hopefully I'll get some media credentials down there. I'll be heading down, boots on the ground in Texas to cover some of the race, so definitely go follow at Another Triathlon Podcast because I'll be doing some fun stuff down there, interviewing the pros and just sticking a camera.
No pressure. I mean, you got to live up to the way you did it last year too, though. So it's talk about putting pressure on ourselves.
There we go. No, huge shout out last year to Travis from the Daily Tri because he let me just kind of shadow him for the day. He knew where all the places to go for the different parts of the race and how to get all the best insights and let me piggyback off some of his stuff. So I will definitely have a better idea this year and harass him again to know all the places to go.
A Taylor Nib bike dismount mishap is always helpful too.
Man, and a Cam Worth bike,
and a Cam
record for Ironman and stuff. That was an epic race to watch. And everyone is going to be at Ironman Texas. It feels like
everyone at Oceanside is going to Texas too, so they're all primed and ready to go for 3 weeks of training.
Oh, definitely. We're going to have a few first timers, but we'll save all the Texas predictions for a little bit closer to race day because, man, it's just going to be absolutely insane to watch there. We're going to have everyone. And then we're also going to have the T100 in Singapore, April 25th. So we're going to have the first men's race of the year coming up at the end of April. So we've definitely got some big races coming ahead. It's really, from the Ironman Pro Series, the first quarter of the year is so heavily weighted, or even more than the first quarter. First few months are definitely heavily weighted. I'm almost wondering, we might see like a lull in the middle of the season, right? Because we're going to have Texas. And then a few people are doing the European races like Frankfurt and doing Challenge Roth and stuff. But I think a lot of athletes who are really chasing the Pro Series are going to get a lot of points early on and then have a bit of downtime before the big races.
Or they're not going to get a lot of points because of the top end of the field, right? So then they're going to have to keep racing while Christian goes off on vacation. Now Christian's schedule is still crazy, and I think he had announced while he was at Oceanside that he's adding Cartagena again, like so he's doing that race at the end of the year, and it's like
why not?
And he's doing Roth, and so
it's going to be lit this year. It is just announcement after announcement. That race is going to be absolutely insane.
Yeah, Roth is going to be packed, and that's really cool for the sport. But like you said, there are going to be races where everyone else can go get points, and they're going to have to add that third 70.3 that they didn't want to add, or add and maybe another full distance. But definitely on the 70.3 side, we're going to probably see some people adding races that they didn't think they were going to be doing, and maybe that's Happy Valley, and they didn't expect to have to do that race or go across the pond and do a race in Europe. I think that's going to be a factor. The other piece I did want to say too, in terms of we do have our Super Tri Pro series coming up, and I do want to send out a reminder if you are a elite or trying to become a professional elite triathlete in the short course world, to hop on the Super Tri website and get your application in to race in Austin or Toronto, which are two qualifying events for the grand final. So you can make money at those races by finishing in the top 3, top 5, top 10. But you can also qualify to the grand final for Super Tri 2, which is some serious money. So that's just another little path for people to make some money. And we saw some really cool racing in Gulfport. A new up and coming U.S. female triathlete beat Gwen Jorgensen this weekend, which was really crazy to see. And so there are new avenues, and Super Tri Austin will be that first opportunity for some short course athletes to make some money.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's always fun to watch as well. It's a little different format this year at the Super Tri races, but it's definitely going to be an epic grand final as we have everyone to come together and get some good coverage of it the way we'd love to see in Super Tri.
That's Jenna's favorite format, will be the grand final. But the rest of them are going to be sprint, draft legal.
No, love the grand final. That'll be a blast to watch. Was there anything else going on in the triathlon world that we missed chatting on this week?
I don't think so. If there was, nobody was paying attention.
Right.
Like I just threw Gulfport in there. And there was some other cool races. I saw Vasco won a big race in Portugal for his country and stuff. But yeah, we're gonna start getting into in May the real Olympic qualifying starts too.
Mhm.
So keep your eyes out for that, and we'll certainly let you know when those races kick up.
Absolutely. Well, thanks as always for joining me, Josh. And if you're listening here, definitely go give us a follow at Another Triathlon Podcast on Instagram and YouTube as well. We've got those up if you want to watch us chatting about triathlon or stuck on a bike trainer. Always a good option there. But we will be back next week to, make some more predictions and chat about what's going on in the triathlon world. We'll talk to
Awesome.
you
Have a
then.
good week, guys.